Okay, so when we're setting up for a standing cable Y raise, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to crisscross the handles. Then we are going to take a little step back, and we'll talk in a minute about how far back you should step, so don't worry about that too much just yet. And our motion is going to be finishing right here in this Y position. As you bring the cables back, they will recross, if you look closely here, they will recross just about till my hands or the handles touch. It's going to give us a nice full range of motion. From there, we are pulling out and away and then finishing with an arms back intent. And so when you get to this point, yes, it's okay to be pulling your arms back and thinking about pulling that cable back behind your body. But when you are doing the motion from the bottom up, I want you to think about pressing your arms away from your body and then finishing with an arms back intent. And so when you're thinking about how far you want to be from the cable to start, a good baseline rule of thumb, unless I say otherwise, I want you to set up so that when your arms are here, which is like, let's say, perpendicular to the torso, that your hand is in line with the cable, not in front of it, not behind it. And that's a good rule of thumb, just from a baseline, not from a better or worse perspective, but just from a, hey, let's use this as a reference point. If you want to make the exercise harder in the short position, which we may or may not want to do, and I will certainly tell you if we're going to do that, you take a step away from the machine. That's going to make this position easier down here, and it's going to make this position harder up here. Again, I will let you know if I want you to do that. And so a quick recap, when we're performing this exercise, we want to get into this Y position here where the cables are basically flush against your chest. And that cable is kind of flush against your arm. And so right there at the top, I'm going to pause it. That cable is making contact with my arm here and basically making contact with my chest, although you can't see it. When we are bringing the cables down in front of us, which we'll see in just a sec here, we're going to do it until the cables cross and the handles just about touch. And that does mean that one arm will be over the other. And so you can switch back and forth if you want, or you can just find one that is the most comfortable. It's a millimeter of difference. It's not the end of the world. Pull by pressing your arms out and away, and then you can finish with an arm back intent once you are in this overhead position. Now, I'll be straight up with you guys. This exercise is insanely difficult. I am using 10 pounds here, and I promise you it is very hard. And so if your goal is to do this exercise, please try it on the lightest possible weight that you have available. And I will be upfront with you. There are going to be a lot of people who cannot do it on the lightest weight. I'm doing it on the lightest weight, and it is challenging for me. And so if that is a circumstance you find yourself in, that's totally fine. I would swap for a dumbbell variation where you can use something like 2.5 pounds, 5 pounds, 7.5 pounds, 8 pounds, 10 pounds. Sometimes the cables can be a little bit heavy, and so if that's something you're finding, I promise it's not weird, it's not abnormal, it's a ridiculously hard exercise, even with light load. And so if that's something you're finding, just swap it out for a dumbbell version, and you're going to do just fine.